Hello again, good people of Ableton land. I am back with another device to share with you. Up until now, I've just been making audio effects, but this is my first time getting into the world of synthesizers. And this first one is called Polycrush, and it's inspired by those classic retro gaming machines, which just use these tiny little 8-bit sounds, and they sounded delightful. And I think that some of these sounds can really cut through a modern mix. So it's called Polycrush 16. And it is a polyphonic synthesizer. It has two oscillators, each of which has 16 different waveforms you can select from. You can blend in their volumes. There's also a sub-osc, which just plays a sine wave, either 1, 2, 3, or 4 octaves below the note you're playing. There is a typical ADSR envelope for shaping the sound, and there is a filter, of course. And then there's a bit crusher just to make things a bit further grimier, if you wish. Because I really do think that that's where a lot of the beauty of these sounds lies, in just kind of really cranking the depth down low and just getting these kind of distorted, grimy, interesting, sometimes glitchy sounds. So there's 3 rows of presets here. The first ones here are, the first row is blips and plucks, and then the second row is more polyphonic lead or chord key type sounds, and the third row is bass. I've just been messing around here on a bass at the moment. We've got 2 oscillators, the fuzz oscillator and the square, and then I'm just throwing a sidechain compressor on there attached to a bass drum here, and let's just give it a little listen. Bring down the bit depth. We'll try some other basses. This one's very short. This one needs to be longer. I like this one. So yeah, I think that some of these sounds really cut through nicely. We're using single cycle waveforms here, which is essentially just a tiny little snippet of the waveforms actually taken directly from these old 8-bit consoles. They're public domain, and essentially just loops this tiny cycle into an oscillator, and then we can filter it and carve it out as we like. So again, there's 16 to choose from. I'll definitely be adding more in the future. And then there's some interesting controls down here. You can see the waveform, of course, and then there's these 4 buttons on the left of each waveform window, and you can actually grab a little chunk here and just loop that bit. And then the second button allows you to move through your selection, move it around. It's not always going to sound nice. You have to find the kind of sweet spots, essentially where there's a lot of motion. But I think it's just an interesting feature. Let's grab this one too. And then the hand just allows you to zoom in and out, like so. And this last one is one of my favorites. Let's just select the whole thing first. But what you can do here is, as the icon indicates, you can draw in your own shape. And varying results here, depending on what you're doing. Let's just turn down this oscillator a bit. And so some really interesting potential here just for finding new timbres, new tones. Let's do some higher stuff. I did think about building my own reverb and delay for this pedal, or for this instrument, but really we have so many options available to us in Ableton, it just seems like a waste of time. So I do have a couple sends here, just a Valhalla Reverb and then the Valhalla Supermassive, which is a delightful delay reverb plugin, and I think a little goes a long way, especially with some of the higher sounds. So let's just give a listen. Let's choose one of these sounds up here, and let's give a listen to something a little different. I feel like that gives you a good idea of the kind of variety of sounds that are available here. I think there's a lot that can be found with the exploration. And then there's one kind of secret Easter egg feature that well, it's not really indicated anywhere here, but if you're watching this video up to this point, now you will know about it. And I think it's neat. So there's these two icons here, a heart and a star in the typical 8-bit fashion. And what these allow you to do is take any sound. Ideally, you would use another single cycle waveform, but you can use any sound, and you can grab one and you can just drop it on there, and you can drop this one on too, and boom, you can bring in your own sounds. So it's not a sampler. It's really meant for these tiny sounds, but you could have a long sound and just drop it on and maybe grab just a tiny little chunk of it. So let's see how our bass is sounding with these two new oscillators. And let's try some different one. Let's try this one. Oh, these ones are pretty similar. Let's try this guy. There we go. That one's got some more movement. Yeah, so I think this is just an interesting way to find new sounds, and of course you can grab a little smaller chunk, kind of experiment, try to find a sweet spot. That's nice. So that's Polycrush 16. I appreciate you watching the video up to this point. I appreciate all of you previous customers who checked out my other devices, Ambi, Lushy, the harmonizer. I am truly very grateful to be in this position where I'm one guy working out of a tiny little room in our house while me and my wife raise a very lovely 1.5-year-old dude who just learned to walk. And I'm very grateful to be able to stay home, work on these things when I have time, and share them with you. I truly cannot express my gratitude. So thank you again. If you enjoy this stuff, as they say, please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel. There's lots more coming. I'm working on an FM synth. I'm working on a kind of like a weird looper, stuttery audio effect. I have a lot of ideas. If you have suggestions, I'm very open to those as well. Feel free to reach out. Thank you again so much for your time. Happy music making, and peace.